Welcome to Greenlight Dreams, where stories breathe and words become light. Tonight we begin a new journey, a story of beauty, temptation, and the soul's quiet decay. Written by Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray is one of the most haunting works of English literature, a reflection on vanity, desire, and the price of eternal youth. Published in 1890, it remains a timeless mirror of the human condition, the part of us that longs to stay young while time moves quietly on. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and step with me into the first chapter, A Portrait of Youth. The studio was filled with the smell of roses, and through the open window came the sound of summer, birds, laughter, and the faint hum of London. Basil Hallward stood before his canvas, brush trembling between admiration and fear. On it, a portrait of a young man so beautiful that it seemed almost alive. His name was Dorian Gray. "He's far more than beautiful," Basil whispered. "He has something pure, something I cannot explain." Lord Henry Wotton, lounging in a chair, smiled with his usual charm, a man who believed in pleasure above all else. "To influence a person," he said, "is to give them your soul." He spoke of youth and beauty, of how they fade, of how nothing in life endures. Dorian entered the studio. Light seemed to follow him. He laughed easily, but when Lord Henry began to speak, the laughter faded. "You have only a few years to live truly," Henry said softly. "When your youth is gone, you will discover that nothing remains." The words struck Dorian like a spell. He looked at his portrait, that perfect reflection of his youth, and a sudden fear passed through him. "How sad it is," he murmured, "that I shall grow old and horrible, while this picture will remain young forever." Then, with trembling lips, he whispered the wish that would curse him for life. "If only I could stay young and the picture grow old instead. I would give my soul for that." Lord Henry smiled faintly, as if he had just witnessed the birth of something. Not art, but tragedy. The room grew silent. The summer light dimmed, and though no one saw it, the portrait seemed to breathe, as if it had heard his prayer. The next afternoon, Dorian sat with Lord Henry in the garden, sunlight spilling through the leaves like gold dust. The air was heavy with the scent of lilac and laughter from distant streets, but something darker lingered between their words. Lord Henry spoke softly, his voice smooth as silk and dangerous as poison. "You have the most wonderful youth," he said, "but youth is the one thing worth having, and you will never have it again." Dorian listened, caught between curiosity and fear. "Why should I fear time?" he asked. Henry smiled. "Because beauty is a tyrant, my dear boy. The gods give it only once. Every day that passes takes something from you. The color of your lips, the light in your eyes. When that is gone, you will learn that there is nothing left." Dorian turned pale. For the first time, he saw the shadow of age in the sunlight. "If only it were different," he whispered. "If only I could stay as I am now." Lord Henry leaned back, smiling lazily. "Ah, you have the most divine nature, Dorian. So impressionable, so full of promise. That is what makes life worth corrupting." The words sank deep into Dorian's heart, planting something small and venomous. When Basil arrived and saw them, he sensed it instantly, that invisible shift in Dorian's soul. "Don't listen to him," Basil warned. "Henry's influence is subtle and destructive." But Dorian only smiled faintly. It was too late. The seed had already been planted, and it would bloom in silence. That evening, when he looked again at his portrait, he thought he saw something different in its eyes. something colder, something alive. Time passed softly, and the days of summer melted into gold. Dorian Gray had changed. The world now seemed brighter, sharper, as if Lord Henry's words had peeled back a curtain from reality. He laughed more easily, dressed with elegance, and moved through life as if it were a stage built just for him. Then one evening, in a small theater on a forgotten London street, he saw her, Sybil Vane. She was young, fragile, and full of light. When she spoke, her voice trembled like silver. When she acted, the world around her disappeared. Dorian watched her as if she were something holy. "She's more than an actress," he whispered to Henry. "She's the truth hidden behind all beauty." For weeks he returned to that theater, every night, watching her live and die in 100 different roles. Juliet, Ophelia, Imogen, and in each of them, Dorian found himself falling deeper. He told Lord Henry he was in love. Henry laughed softly. "Ah, my dear boy. The only real tragedy in love is its ending." But Dorian didn't hear him. To him, Sybil wasn't part of the world's decay. She was untouched, pure, like the portrait before it changed. "I shall marry her," he said with conviction, "because she makes me forget what sin is." Lord Henry smiled faintly, though in his eyes there was something cruel, a quiet knowledge that innocence never survives love.